So today I went over to Aldi. I had to buy some stuff anyway. Um, I was gonna cook some food, and I usually don't go to the store, and it's so close to me. It's like the closest grocery store to my house, actually. But there's stuff I don't like about it. For one thing, you got to pay for the shopping cart. You got to put a quarter into the cart, and then when you finish your shopping, you go back and you get your quarter back. I don't really care for that. And they don't have a lot of cashiers. I mean, it's really you know like when I was there today, there was one cashier, but mostly it's self checkout. But they got some good stuff too. They got their product is really high quality, and they do get some really low prices, and they have really a smaller store layout. It's not like a Walmart where you're always walking around looking for stuff. And like the everyday items, they're displayed in their original shipping boxes to save on restocking shelves. Now, Aldi's it's a big, it's a big chain when you think about it. They have they operate over 12,000 stores, and they're actually it's owned by two German multinational family owned, and they're like a discount store. Now the company was started in 1913, and they're a huge multinational company. They're in Germany, Australia, Austria, Belgium, Denmark, France, Hungary, Ireland, Netherlands, Poland, Portugal, Spain, Switzerland, United Kingdom, and also the United States. Now this store I went to was over on North Phoenix, right by Bell Road, and there's was a bunch of stores around there. And this store actually isn't that old. It's only like 2 years old, right around there, if even that much. But one thing I like about the store, it has wide aisles. I mean, it's really easy to shop in. It's not really narrow aisles. Like I've been to some other stores where you couldn't have two people with carts in the same aisle because you'd knock into somebody. But not in this case. Now the vegetables were pretty cheaply priced, and they were pretty good quality. And some of the bad things that I didn't like about it, a lot of the items they were in a package, so you got to buy all four of them or whatever amounts in that bag. Didn't really care for that, because I just sometimes I just need one or two of an item, or sometimes I just need one. But though I gotta say though, the vegetables were pretty inexpensive, and they were good quality also too. One thing I'll notice about the store, there's not a whole lot of employees. When I was there was probably like maybe 5 employees, and they do everything, and that's to save money. I mean, they're just a low cost thing, and they pass that on to the consumers. And I think working there is kind of stressful, really. I think it's a pretty fast paced environment, and you're expected to complete tasks in a short amount of time. And I don't think you have a lot of assistance there. And you got to juggle a bunch of different jobs too, while you're there. And you got to meet quotas. But I don't work there. I just shop there, so I don't really care. And here's my walk around the store. I really like the aisles, how big they are. And here's the bread section. Notice how all the items are still in boxes. I mean, they save on labor that way. I mean, it's a well laid out store, really. Another way to save money is they usually carry about 1,400 items. In a typical grocery store, you carry about 40,000. So, yeah, that's another way you save a lot of money. Another way to save money is they don't have a team of people that go out to bring the shopping carts back. You have to pay 25 cents to get your cart. Then, of course, you go to your car, drop your food up, and then come back to get the 25 cents. So that's like a pretty smart thing, but I don't really care for it. But they're really successful, so they must be doing that right. And here's another thing: good luck trying to find major brands. More than 90% of the brands they sell its own private labels, like Simply Nature, organic products. Um, their bread is special selected bread, but it's their own brands, really. I want to get Pop Tarts, and Pop Tarts uh, for a 12 pack costs like $2.75. But of course, this company does their own brand, and I think it's called uh, Millyville Toaster Tarts, whatever. It's like that. Anyway, for a 12 pack, it's like 185. So that's you know, is a lot cheaper. Pretty much the same thing. Here's another thing that you might not notice, but if you look at the barcodes, they're supersized, and the reason they do that is to get you out of the store, so you don't keep messing around and looking for the barcodes. And it's printed on multiple sides. And another thing, you got to pay for the bags too. It's not that much. Like I think it was 10 cents, 20 cents, whatever. I don't remember. But they just don't have free bags, which is kind of like. But a lot of companies are doing that nowadays. I go to Sprouts and I got to pay for the bag over there. Here's another reason they're so successful. They keep real estate prices lower. For one thing, like a Walmart Supercenter averages around 178,000 square feet. Costco is about 145,000 square feet, and Aldi's is only about 12,000 square feet. So you can see it's less real estate. They just they save a lot of money there. And try and look for a phone number for Aldi's. They don't list their phone numbers because they don't want their employees answering phone calls. They want them really working the floor. Now, a single Aldi store might only have 3 to 5 employees at the store at any given time, which I know that when I go there, you can't find anybody. And they only have like 15 to 20 people on the entire payroll. And of course, they claim that they offer their wages a little bit above average, but overall, they save on labor costs because they got fewer employees. And of course, they say they do this to save. Uh, they pass on the savings to the customer, and they are actually a little bit cheaper, probably around like 15 to 20% cheaper than if you go into Walmart. I got to give them this for one thing. They score really high in customer survey, uh, and they have a lot of word of mouth, uh, more than any other supermarket really. And I was really excited when it opened up in my neighborhood. Well, it's really close to where I live at. But for me, it just the cart. It just you got to pay for the cart. I mean, you get the money back, but still, it just bugs me. And paying for the bags, yeah, two things that really bug me. Here's another weird thing about the stores. You would think they attract lower income people, but their core shoppers tend to make pretty good money and have a slightly higher education than the overall grocery shopper. And I can kind of see that when you go in the parking lot, you don't see beat up cars actually. I mean, you see actually, you know, pretty decent cars. Like if you go to some of these dollar stores like that, I mean, you'll just see you know, their parking lot. And that's how I tell, by the income level when I go to a store. When I go to Costco, the income level is probably about 100,000 there, at least 100,000. That's for core customer, and they all, their parking lot is always pretty nice. And I do the same thing when I go to an apartment complex. You can tell who lives there by the kind of cars that are there. I know it sounds bad, but it's true. I actually read where they're supposed to be the third largest grocery chain in America, behind only Walmart and Kroger, when it comes to locations. And I could see that. They're popping up all over Phoenix. Now they're also they want to appeal to higher income customers, and you can tell that by their organic products as well as imported items like Irish cheese, pastas from Italy, um, stuff like that. You can tell they're trying to get that the higher income in the stores. And I was looking at a map where these stores are. I'm looking at the zip codes in their area, and these stores don't go into poor neighborhoods. I mean, they're going for the higher middle class neighborhood now. I just thought that was an interesting item. Now here's the checkout line. Notice there's one cashier over here, and like I said, you got to bag your own products. I never use a cashier. I just go to the self checkout. And one thing I like about the store, they do have Apple Pay, which I don't like putting my debit or credit cards in any one of these machines because you never know uh, what they can do. So I love Apple Pay. Well, that's my tour of the store, and see the carts over there. And they got nobody searching for the carts. Like usually go to Fry's or whatever, Kroger, and there'll be somebody that's their job. You got to go and get the carts. Here they don't do that. They want you to bring back the cart, then you get your quarterback. And I always, but the bad thing about it, who carries change nowadays? I always forget that when I come here, and I forget to bring change. So it just drives me crazy. But I've seen people walking around with just boxes, and then they put the stuff in the box, whatever. Like this, they get the box in the store, whatever, and then just to use that instead of a cart. So, whatever. Well, here's the carts, and you got to pay a quarter to use them. But then when you bring it back, you get the quarter back. I just think that's really cheap. I mean, as far as that store, come on. To use a cart, you got to put in a quarter in. I just, I don't know. I just don't like that. But it's a really clean store, and this store is pretty new. It was opened like maybe a year or two ago. But I just think it's a good store, and it's well laid out, and the prices are pretty reasonable. And there's all kinds of stores around that area. There's a Walmart right across the street. Uh, there's a few other stores, so that's a good area. It's right in North Phoenix. But anyway, what I do is I go to different stores, museums, events around Phoenix, and I put them on my webpage. So if you want to find out what to do, subscribe to my channel. There's always something to do, and a lot of stuff is free. Doesn't cost anything. So if you plan to visit Phoenix, or you do live in Phoenix, now's the time, before it gets hot, because it's going to start getting hot. We're in St. Patrick's Day today. In fact, it's March 17th, so happy St. Patrick's Day. But in about, let's see, April, May, by May it's going to get really hot here. June, July, August, God, it'll just be really super hot. But anyway, so if you would subscribe to my channel, give me a like, and I will talk to you later.